How you doing, Internet? This is Garrett Cook, Bizarro Novelist, author of Jimmy Plush, Teddy Bear Detective, and Pimp, which is this weekend available on Kindle. So, get that, because it's the future and shit. I'm waiting for some clothes to dry, so I thought I would rant some about another classic Doctor Who serial. Because my last classic Doctor Who video was, received with lukewarm acclaim, which in the small press is rather grandiose acclaim. Yep, that's some badass acclaim. So this time I'm going to be talking a little bit about Terror of the Autons, which is a serial featuring Jon Pertwee, the Third Doctor, from the early 70s. Season 8 of Doctor Who, to be precise. Terror of the Autons is a serial that I picked because it introduces my favorite Doctor Who villain, the Master. The Master's a fascinating character because the Doctor is somebody who uses his ingenuity to help people think freely, to liberate people from tyranny, and to prevent violence. The Master, obviously, does the opposite of this. He comes from the same background as the Doctor. He's a Time Lord. In this way, he's kind of similar to, how Superman has a General Zod and how Batman has a Hush. That's some bad sangria. Terror of the So he's a fascinating character because he brings up, the negative potential of the Time Lord race. And kind of cautions us about, letting the urge for dominance, letting the antisocial urge overpower us. The Doctor's kind of all about, the gospel of Uncle Ben Parker. The Master is certainly not. Terror of the Autons is a serial in which the Master tries to utilize the Nestene consciousnness against the Doctor and the Earth. He's introduced doing this. They're apparently old enemies, and Hartnell and Troughton just kind of plumb forgot about it. The Nestene you may remember as the plastic entities from the first... Well, if you're familiar with New Doctor Who and not Classic, from the first episode of the reboot, Rose, from the Ninth Doctor. The Nestene are a disembodied consciousness capable of possessing and manipulating any object made of plastic. So usually create these, mannequin-y puppet fiends. And so the Master decides to infiltrate a plastic factory to utilize to create a number of the Autons, who are the plastic fiendy things. Jon Pertwee is he's an interesting Doctor. Like Hartnell, the First Doctor, he's an older gentleman, but he's more foppish, more dogged, and he's kind of more an old soldier with a conscience than a mad scientist, which, in my opinion, makes him very compelling. I like him a lot. I can't say that I like the candy-coatedness and the kind of and the contrivances of Pertwee-era Doctor Who. Pertwee-era, this particular serial has some weird pacing issues. For example, for some reason, they decided to add a dogged plastics tycoon who is resistant to the Master's mind control into the mix to try and create some tension around the Master being able to get a hold of a plastic factory. I don't really know if, a 70s British audience was really incredulous regarding a psychic supervillain with mind control powers' ability to infiltrate and manipulate plastics. I said, Reginald, I'm awfully concerned about plastics. What would happen if some fiend were to infiltrate our plastics infrastructure? Oh, don't worry about that. Plastics are safe as houses. This is England, you know. Oh, good. Well, now we can listen to T-Rex in peace. You know? So, that aspect of it, I found, kind of hokey and puzzling. They could have trimmed a lot of fat there. By not, by just letting him waltz into the plastic factory and then giving the Doctor more to oppose. There's some fascinating sight gags and some fascinating uses of the Nestine. A chair eats people. There are killer daffodils. There's all kinds of Cesar Romero Joker death traps that the Master executes utilizing plastic. So I think this is kind of a hokey introduction for a really great villain, and I found myself missing the gravitas of the black and white Flash Gordon world of the Daleks. So that I thought was kind of weak. Though I do really like Pertwee. I think he's a great Doctor, and I think his tensions with the military-industrial complex, which he's forced to work with because his TARDIS is broken, is a good trope, but one that gets kind of old kind of fast. He ends up having to thwart an RAF airstrike because for some reason the Brigadier, his boss, doesn't trust the Doctor's ability to stop a rival Time Lord on time to prevent an Auton clusterfuck. So decides to call in a tactical rocket strike, which I think is a little brash. But don't worry, the Doctor, of course, manages to thwart this using the magic of knobs, which I also find this always kind of bothers me about Doctor Who episodes. How many things get resolved by just flicking a bunch of knobs? If I were the Master, what I would do is I would go back in time and somehow prevent knobs from being invented. This would just completely fuck the Doctor over. Maybe what he could do is, find some sort of magical sprite from a 50s film strip about the importance of knobs, and wish knobs away. Because apparently all that stands between us and certain oblivion is, or galactic conquest, are knobs. Terror of the Autons is a good introduction of the Master, ably played by Roger Delgado, but just kind of not the best writing in the series, not even by vintage Doctor Who standards, in my opinion. But it does teach us an important lesson about knobs. So thanks, knobs. Next, I'll be talking about Tom Baker and Mars mummies. So, watch that if you found this at all compelling, which I imagine you did not. Thank you for your 9 minutes. Bye, Time Pimp. Peace out.